People of these American states united, welcome to the show, the Constitution explained in children's terms. Forget about Limbaugh and Beck. It's time to turn them off and tune in right here. Make yourself comfortable for the next 2 hours and be ready to be reaffiliated with the founding of our great union. This is the show you all have been waiting for. This is the show where you'll cast aside your indoctrination into the system of lies and relearn the construct of the Union of States as established and ratified in the year of 1789. I am your host, known only as Harry. I strive to assist the people of the states in recognizing the true heritage of liberty and freedom which the establishers of the Union of Individual States had in plan for their future generations. That heritage was not only misunderstood from the initiation of the contract between states, but it also was reconstructed into the monster which we endure today. The people have the power to cage that monster. However, extremely few recognize and utilize those powers. We will be maintaining strict rules of conduct when we are on the air and ask that all callers do the same. This is an educational show, and we desire that children are able to listen to the discussion here without fear of being offended with foul or hateful language. Please feel free to send a chat message or call into the show. The call-in number is 516-595-8117. That's 516-595-8117. We would love to hear from you. All. The whole, entire, total amount, quantity, or extent of. Legislative. Relating to the making of laws. Power. Legal or official authority, capacity, or right. Herein. In this book, in this document. Granted. To permit as a right, privilege, or favor. Vested. Fully and unconditionally guaranteed as a legal right, benefit, or privilege. Congress. The supreme legislative body of a nation and especially of a republic. The whole, entire, total amount, quantity, or extent of the legal or official authorities, capacities, or rights relating to the making of laws permitted as a right, privilege, or favor in this book, in this document, shall be fully and unconditionally guaranteed as a legal right, benefit, or privilege in a supreme legislative body of a nation and especially of a republic. Or, within the document in every instance where the document grants the United States the power to create law, it is the Congress and only the Congress which is granted the power to create law. Only the Congress decides which laws should be considered for creation. Only the Congress possesses full power of creating law, providing that the laws which they create strictly comply with the restrictions on legislation placed within this document. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is our 11th show on air. However, this is the second show in the series of explaining the Constitution as it was established and ratified in 1789. We kicked the series off last week as Paul explained the preamble to the ratified document. Let's dig in then to this misunderstood document and see if we can manage to reprogram everyone into understanding their own personal duty as a member of their state to restore Republican form of government which is guaranteed to the citizens of the states. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. This first sentence of the U.S. Constitution is not only the most misconceived sentence of the ratified document, it is also probably the most important sentence contained within the pages. It is most important especially when it comes to the protection of the rights of the individual. It was placed at the beginning of the document to describe the document's main purpose. One of the greatest injuries which has been perpetrated against the liberties of the people of these American states is that they have been led to believe that this sentence describes the granting of power to the Congress to create law. Nothing goes further from the truth. This sentence does exactly the opposite. This sentence restricts law creation. This sentence states that all legislative powers herein granted. It does not state that all legislative powers are herein granted. It states herein granted for a precise reason. The main purpose of the complete document was not to describe the process of creating law. It was not about electing a president or other members of the Congress, even though the process to do so was contained within. Its main purpose was not about creating a list of rights. Its main purpose had not the intention of telling the people who to look up to for guidance, who to look up to for leadership, nor who to look up to for the creation of rules to be written as to how the people would live among themselves in their separate societies, their individual communities. The purpose of the document was not to establish a ruling body, at least not a body to rule the people. The main purpose of the U.S. Constitution was to revise the construct of the Union of individual states established under the Articles of Confederation. Its purpose was to reestablish a Congress more equipped to perform tasks for the states which were specifically defined within the document. Its purpose was to give the Congress the power to promote among the individual nations within the Union the principles of peaceful coexistence which were mentioned within the preamble. Its purpose was designed to create a more perfect union. The design of the document was to describe how the Congress could legislate in the performance of their duties, and it granted the Congress in assembly the power to tax in order to fund the execution of those tasks. Nothing more, nothing less. The document did not constitute a government of the states. It constituted only a government of the Union of States. There is an absolute difference between the two concepts. However, there are certain word phrases that the individual must comprehend before they can recognize the difference between the two. The term the United States, when used in the document, refers only to the Congress when they are assembled. The term the United States of America refers to only the Union itself, which was made up of the individual sovereign nations of America, their legislative branches, included in the Union established within the Articles of Confederation, and including any which joined the Union at a later date. The body politics embodying the people of the states are not the United States, nor are they the United States of America. Those body politics make up their own nations, which is the same as saying their own states. The Congress and Assembly, aka the United States, does not have the power to create law outside the boundaries of performing the listed tasks within the document. Within those listed tasks are no powers granted to create law upon the individual. That was not the purpose of forming the Union. For far too long, the people of these American states have trusted that the U.S. Constitution was created to protect their rights. That misconception of the document has caused more loss of freedom for the people than they can possibly imagine. The document did not place the rights of the individual within the hands of the elected. The elected were not granted the power to decrease nor increase the rights of the people of the states. James Wilson, a founder and signer of the Declaration of Independence, stated of the natural rights of individuals. In a state of natural liberty, everyone is allowed to act according to his own inclination, provided he transgress not those limits which are assigned to him by the law of nature. In a state of civil liberty, he is allowed to act according to his inclination, provided he transgress not those limits which are assigned to him by the municipal law. The United States of America is not a municipality. The individual states are not municipalities. Only the communities are municipalities. In Republican form of government, only communities are allowed to create law to be forced upon themselves. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence of the 13 Colonies and third President of the United States of America, stated that rightful liberty is unobstructed action according to our will within limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. I do not add within the limits of the law, because law is often by the tyrant's will, and always so when it violates the rights of the individual. It is unlawful for any law official, state or national, to enforce any national law which is written outside the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution. It is unlawful for a court to prosecute any violation of a national law which is written outside the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution. It is unlawful for a state to adopt and enforce national mandates into their enforcement codes which were handed down to them by an overreaching National Congress of the United States and written outside the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution. That includes any law written by any other entity listed within the U.S. government, especially the President through executive order, and most definitely law dictated from the bench of an overbearing, unconstitutionally acting Supreme Court. Please take note of the term national in referring to the United States government. There presently does not exist a government under constitutional ratification that qualifies as a federal government. Presently, there exists but a few who have reclaimed their lawful status of state citizenship. Almost totally, the states are occupied by national citizens. Only if the states become reestablished with state citizenry will there then be a lawful confederacy of states, which then can restore a lawful, constitutional federal government. It is unlawful for the members of the military to be in the lands of other nations when the people of the states have not petitioned their representation in Congress to declare war upon the people of those nations. It is unlawful for the Congress to fund these operations without first declaring war as representatives of their respective districts. Whether it is palatable or not, the badge wearers and the uniform wearers, as they exist today, are criminal entities which have infested our free states. That includes the police departments and the sheriff departments. That also absolutely includes every unlawful foreign agent, members of such organizations as the BLM, the CIA, the FBI, and the TSA, to just name a few. While we are at it, let's not forget the IRS. These people, these unlawful entities, are where we, the people of these American states, need to focus our energies of restoring liberty. We are not going to restore the principles of a government which has been granted no power to create law upon the people of these American states, for there are no powers granted for such in the document in the first place, by going to the voting booth and filling the elected chairs with more who don't comprehend their duty to exterminate all laws outside of the document's boundaries. We must focus locally. We must take the criminals who enforce these unlawful codes upon the innocent off from the pedestals which we have placed them upon in the past. We must begin chastising our family, friends, and neighbors who support the badge-wearing criminals. We must work to completely disgrace those who enforce. Do not misinterpret what is portrayed here. This is not a call for violence among our populations. These are our people, and we must respect that. Nothing is going to be solved by turning our streets into blood. These people truly believe that they are doing the right thing. We must convince them that they are not. All that is called for here is that when we are in the presence of those who we know personally, those who enforce and those who offer support to the enforcers, we must begin to stand tall and express the disgust they represent by the action of swearing to uphold and defend a document which they have not thoroughly comprehended its intent and its complete design. We need more businesses refusing to serve these people. We need more people pointing out these criminals hiding among us. We need to direct our voices of freedom at these people who oppress us on a daily basis. It is not the government which fills those uniforms nor wears the badges. It is members of our society, people who we know, who believe that they are doing the right thing. However, many of them don't care. Many of them only follow orders with purpose to collect a substantial compensatory package. Compensatory packages offered to those who will willingly turn their backs on truth in order to collect. The same goes for the court systems presently in place. The people were to keep legislative bodies in place within their states which would honor and uphold the law of the land. In fact, they are all, every legislative and every justice system member, supposed to take oaths to do so. The legislative bodies were to utilize the 9th and 10th Amendments as regularly as necessary to keep the Congress assembled under control. The state legislative bodies were our last resort when it came to keeping unconstitutionally created federal law from crossing the borders of the states. The people of the states do, however, have a tool to utilize those forgotten amendments. Almost every law that has been added to the books for the last 150 years has been created out of the form of government guaranteed in Article 4. These laws are unlawful. Most of the crimes that a jury may decide on today do involve victims, but that is only because with most non-victim crimes, the accused is persuaded to plea bargain to a lesser charge. Many times, the accused plea bargains because the cost of a jury trial can be astronomical. The tool which the people of the states can utilize against this injustice is that when serving on a jury, if the suspected crime is a victimless crime, an offense that the jury knows is a code which has no lawful power being enforced, the jury members can acquit. It only takes one not guilty verdict to get that done. A jury of 12 peers is the last barrier the people have against tyranny in the name of liberty and freedom. The U.S. Constitution constructed 3 separate government entities. Each of these entities had extreme limits on their governing powers. In fact, the U.S. Constitution granted no power to the Congress and Assembly to govern the people. Their only governing power was accepted by the voluntary inclusion within the compact of the legislative bodies of the individual states. The ratified powers are the only powers lawfully in place. From the Constitution's inception, there were citizens of the states who preferred a different strategy of governance. They preferred a more centralized, powerful government rather than the individual freedoms which existed in the individual nations, or the states, in the 1700s. They wanted the federal government to become an all-powerful national government. Progressively, the people of the national movement have managed to overcome the obstacles placed within the Constitution and has altered, one piece at a time, its design of individual freedom or federalism into a dictatorship-like design or nationalism. Before the subversion of the Constitution during the reconstruction of the organic design and before the forced ratification of Amendment 14, the rules of the methods of appointment into each of these entities were honored. The first entity was to be the most important of the 3 when it came to the involvement of the people of the states. the House of Representatives. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 1. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. First, let us define the last part of that sentence. These words are the only words in the original document, the one lawfully ratified, where the Congress of the United States and Assembly had the power to dictate to the states who could vote. There was no other definition within the document until the militarily implemented Amendment 14. Before that atrocity, the only stipulation by the document on who could vote was, within a state, if an individual was eligible to vote in the elections of the branch of the state legislature which was comprised of the most numerous members, the individual was also eligible to vote for their representation in the federal Congress. It was up to the people of a state to decide who, within their own state, could make important decisions regarding government powers. It was up to the people of the states to determine who had the right to vote. The principle of representative government is completely lost today. It is to the point of non-existence. Choosing who will represent us in government because the person produced the best television commercial while talking down the qualifications of their opponents, the person waved the friendliest when seen on a street corner, the person has the nicest smile, or because the person kissed the most babies, is not a proper example of representative government. Representative government is not where an individual is voted into a position of power. It is not where an individual is voted into a position and then given free rein over the decision-making process in the creation of legislation. In fact, representative government should not be filled by those who have even the slightest sign of possessing a higher side of intelligence. The House of Representatives should be filled by mindless drones incapable of making decisions for themselves. Representatives should be headed to Washington with no agendas outside the tasks listed in Article 1, Section 8, and should be representing the voters of the district from which they represent. If a town doesn't have an adequate post office or postal roads, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7, the people of that district would petition their representative to get it done. Representative government is exactly what it says. It is a government where the people's thoughts, their decisions, their moods, and their ideas are represented when the government assembles for the purpose of creating legislation. Representative government is when the communities, through town hall meetings, vote on all legislation as to how the community as a whole, as a supermajority, deems the legislation should be created. Representative government is where the individual elected carries the exact voice of their respective community to the assembly of government, and all votes cast by that individual on legislation reflect the individual's own district's wishes. The House of Representatives is to be filled with the representatives of the people of exact districts. Outside influence into local voting for representation is a disgrace to the lawful structure of the Union. A representative, by design, is supposed to represent their district in exactness of the wishes of their own district, nowhere else. In present times, we have people, including those already elected to some other office, with agendas crossing over into districts other than their own to support the elections of those districts in hopes of getting their agendas made into law. We even have people from one state going into other states to affect the elections there. This is a pure perversion of the original design of the U.S. Constitution. representatives of other districts traveling outside of their own district in purpose to campaign for representatives of other districts, or presidents traveling to other states to campaign for candidates to represent those states, is not representative government. In fact, these actions are an abomination to the principle of representative government. The results of these sort of campaigns never end up with the voice of the people being represented in Congress. It ends up with agendas being the voice. Agendas never equate to liberty and freedom. The voice of the people from one district, and most definitely a state, should not be affecting the voice in another. It is a bit of a curiosity that while the House of Representatives was placed first in the Constitution, the people have adopted the idea that the President was the chief subject of its construction. The House of Representatives was originally the only federal office which the people were to participate in voting to fill the seats. This was supposed to be the people's voice in the federal government, a limited voice. Limited for good reason. The framers justifiably detested the natural tyranny of democracies. We were to elect someone from our district to represent our district in proceedings. These proceedings were only to pertain to the few enumerated legislative powers contained within the document. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 2. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. The first part of this clause is easy to understand. To take the position of U.S. representative, the individual must be 25 years of age or older. By the way it is worded, the individual does not need to be 25 on election day, but must have reached the age of 25 by the time of being sworn into position. The Congress has the duty to determine the date of the swearing in of all representatives. Let's point out that the sentence structure in this clause can be a little confusing. The words "not when elected" be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen sounds as if the person being elected cannot be an inhabitant of the state which they are elected in. The reader needs to include the "who shall not" early in the sentence, which makes this a double negative and reassures the reader that the one to be elected must be an inhabitant of the state which they are being elected in as a U.S. representative. It is important to point out here as to what the term inhabitant is defined as. Bouvier's Law Dictionary of 1856 defines inhabitant as one who has his domicile in a place, is an inhabitant of that place, one who has an actual fixed residence in a place. Since throughout the document there is no other mention of the people of the states being citizens of the United States before the non-ratified Amendment 14, all the while the terms citizens of each state and citizens of the several states are mentioned in Article 4, Section 2, it has been accepted that the mention of citizen of the United States in this clause is not labeling the people of the states as citizens of the United States. Because of the sentence fragment, been 7 years a citizen of the United States, the requirements of being a U.S. representative is that an individual needed to have been a citizen of one of the states in the Union for 7 years, and must, at the time of the election, again, at the time of the election did not apply to the age limit, be an inhabitant of the state for which they are being elected. It says nothing about being an inhabitant of the district that they are being chosen for. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which have been included within this Union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. Upon a census being taken, the number of representatives per state shall be determined. Also upon this census, the determination of the amount of direct taxes to be apportioned among the states will be determined according to each state's population. The direct taxing power of the Congress granted to them within Section 8 of this same article is to be apportioned among each of the states according to the census numbers of each state. The Congress was never granted the power to tax the individual directly. The only power the Congress had to tax the states were specified with the condition that the states were to receive the tax bill according to their numbers in order that all taxes determined within the Congress and Assembly for the necessary support of the Congress in carrying out their duties was to be spread evenly over the citizens of all the states. Even though these direct taxes were not burdened upon the individual, it was up to the state legislature, which were elected by the body politic, which consisted of the people, to determine how the bill from the U.S. government was to be collected within their own state in order to pay the bill. So now we get to this ridiculous idea that the Constitution was a racist document because it counted black people only as 3/5 a person. This misconception, this perpetuation of ignorance, has gone on long enough. Let's get it straight once and for all. Not only did the Constitution not say that black people are only to be counted as 3/5 a person, it didn't even mention slaves. It says 3/5 of all other persons. It first listed all of the people that were to be counted in census as a whole person as long as they were free. It excluded the Indians, who were not taxed, and then it placed a count of 3/5 of a person on all others. Yes, the compromise in the Continental Convention was about slavery. It was a compromise between the free states, which had many free black persons who were counted as a whole person in census, who did not want the slaves counted to prevent greater representation in the Congress by the slave states, and between the slave states who did not want the slaves counted in census for the purpose of direct taxing, creating a higher bill to their state. Both sides of the argument didn't even know which way they wanted the count to go. After much debate, the 3/5 compromise was agreed upon. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. This sentence is easy. It just says that the census shall be taken 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress, and every 10 years afterward. It does also give the Congress the power to determine how the census is taken. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative, and until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, South Carolina 5, and Georgia 3. This sentence sets the number of representatives in Congress per state. It states that there shall not be more than 1 representative per 30,000 people. It does not say that there must be 30,000 people in a state in order to have a representative in Congress. It goes on to set the numbers of representatives allowed per state until the census is taken in 3 years. After the census, the number of representatives per state were to be determined according to the population of each state. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 4. When vacancies happen in the representation from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. If for any reason a representative is not able to finish their term in office, it is the executive authority of the state, this would usually be the governor, is to determine the time and place for an election to fill the vacant chair. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5. The House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment. There is no explanation needed for that clause. Well, that ends our presentation for tonight. I'm going to get out of this and see if I see any other callers in queue. It looks like there's somebody there. We will continue Article 1, Section 3, the Senate, next week. I think I made tonight's presentation long enough. All right, Paul, what you got to say there?
Okay, so I did have to step away a couple times. And let's go to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 2.
Yeah.
Okay, no person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years
All right.
and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state. Okay, that state, all right, in which they shall be chosen. Now, what people are missing, and what I tried to... Are you
gonna tell me the double negative? Because I covered that. You were probably away.
No, I'm not going to. No, okay. I'm not going to say the double negative. But what I imported as what we have to look at, because we just use words today without comprehension. It says when elected, be an inhabitant of that state. All right. Right now, we do not have inhabitants of the states. We have people claiming U.S. citizenship under the 14th Amendment residing in the states. So residing and inhabitant are two different connotations. Back then, an inhabitant was one that made their home there, and that was it. They had domicile. They owned their land. We don't own our land today. Because if you owned it, you wouldn't be paying property taxes. So those are words that people have to look at. Is just like I stated on the preamble, break each word down to get a better understanding of what is actually being said, and don't gloss over, the ifs, ands, buts, this, that, these, things like that. Because
what are you saying about it?
You had to be an inhabitant of that state. Today, we do not have inhabitants. We have people residing in the states.
Right.
But those are words that we have to learn and understand. What do they really mean? So when it says, all right, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 2, it does say citizen of the United States. That was a general terminology. That was not defined. If you were a citizen of your state in union, then you were a citizen of the United States. Did
you miss that part that I read?
No, but you asked me to.
But did you miss it? Was I read it just now in the show?
No, maybe so. I don't know. But you asked me in the chat yesterday to come up with something to help clarify.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it back to you? What I wrote? What I read?
Sure.
All right, that was Article 1, Section 2. Since throughout the document there is no other mention of the people of the states being citizens of the United States, before the non-ratified Amendment 14. All the while the terms citizen of each state and citizens of the several states are mentioned in Article 4, Section 2, it has been accepted that the mention of citizen of the United States in this clause is not labeling the people of the states as citizens of the United States. Because of the sentence fragment, been 7 years a citizen of the United States, the requirements of being a U.S. representative is that an individual needed to have been a citizen of one of the states in the Union for 7 years and must, at the time of election, again, that did not apply to the age limit, the time of the election, be an inhabitant of the state for which they are being elected. It says nothing about being an inhabitant of the district they are being chosen for.
All I was going to say is that, back then, because we find it in several other documents and phraseology, is that the citizen of the United States was just a generic term.
Right, when they were talking about everybody.
Yeah, it was not a legally defined term until the 14th Amendment.
Now that you've reaffirmed that I'm saying it the right way.
Yeah, it's just people need to know the distinction.
Yep.
Now, here's an interesting thing, though. Is I was looking at Bouvier's Dictionary of 1856.
I will be editing all of this stuff and posting this on the Facebook page underneath this show. Go ahead, Bouvier's. And but I do want to say one thing about Bouvier's. I find some things, and I'm not going to bring anything to mind right off to say it. I find some things in Bouvier's that I could argue. But go ahead. They're pretty good otherwise.
Yeah. But under the definition of state, states composing the United States are sovereign and independent in all things surrendered to the national government by the Constitution.
Correct.
And are considered on general principles by each other as foreign states. Yet their mutual relations are rather those of domestic independence than of foreign alienation. Right there, you're saying that the states are foreign to each other.
Right. We're going to finish this thing out. We're going to get all the way up to Amendment 12. We'll discuss some. I'm hoping John comes on and does Reconstruction. But we'll do some Reconstruction stuff. But after that, if we still have a small audience, the only thing we're going to do is keep this stuff on YouTube and keep it all posted. And, if at a later date people want to say, hey, start this talk show more, we want to talk more. But, we don't seem to be.
What happened to your friend from David Allen's post, the state trooper guy?
He didn't go very far. He didn't call in. Yeah. But, we're getting a lot of listens. We're just not having people that are making the time to be here at 8 o'clock. On Wednesday. So we're getting listens.
Okay.
And really that's all we're after is we want people to hear what the Constitution actually is. And then it's up to them. Are they going to join us and reestablish state citizenship, or are they going to, sit back in their comfy chairs? We can't force them. All we can do is tell them what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
To the best of our knowledge.
Oh, your caller is Ed the Fed.
Well, we might let him on. Did he say please?
No, I didn't even talk to him. I just recognized the number.
He better have listened to my presentation if he's coming on.
I wish I got to hear the whole thing, but I came in, it's like you were just finishing up on the part on the Constitution on the Free Fast rule, and you're going on a little bit further. I didn't get to hear your conclusion. Were you just basically going over the Constitution and then starting to talk? Clause
by clause, explaining them as I go.
Explain as we go, okay.
You're going to have to go in the archives and listen. I do have a lot of editing now. I get stuck on words sometimes, and I have to go back and start over. So I got a lot of editing to do, and then I'll upload. Hopefully, I have that done this weekend. But you'll have to go into the archives and listen to this. Did you listen to Paul's preamble last week?
No, I was out of the area, so I didn't get a chance.
Okay.
I didn't, but. I knew you guys were starting over last week, so that he went over the preamble. Now, the preamble was the last thing they actually wrote, but he went over basically, there were 5 guys who wrote the preamble. Well, the main guy behind it was Governor Morris, but I know that I think it was, I can't remember who else, but they were like, picked to go ahead and write preamble afterwards. And I remember that.
Yeah, we'll go. Oh, that's right. You're on Facebook, so you can't go in and look at the show.
Right.
You can go into the archives on Blog Talk.
Yeah, I can listen. I can do it on the archives, like you're saying. Okay.
Here's what I've got from a book that I have called The Republic of Republic.
Yeah, you sent me
right.
a link to that. I didn't get a chance to read that book, but I mean that's a big book. But you got it from there. What did you go over on it?
In that book, I've got Governor, and he quotes Governor Morris, afterwards Minister to France and United States Senator from New York, the accomplished statesman to whom, in the Federal Convention, in which he was a delegate from Pennsylvania, was entrusted the rewriting of the Constitution, who, having changed these words, "we the people of the states," etc., as adopted by the Convention to "we the people of the United States," must be supposed to know their meaning declared years afterwards that the Constitution was a compact not between individuals, but between political societies, each enjoying sovereign power and, of course, equal rights. And that was taken from The Life of G. Morris, page 193.
Okay, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But what I understood is that there was 5 guys, they already finished writing the Constitution. And then he says, okay, now we're going to put, the preamble, the beginning part of it, what this is, the introduction, more or less. Mm-hmm. And there was 5 of them there, but Governor Morris was the main one. And then during the ratification debates, that's when, like, Patrick Henry laid in and says, it shouldn't be we the people, it should be we the states. He was bad, when he first read it.
Yeah, but we the people, as I said on the show, first of all, people is capitalized. That's a proper noun, versus just being a generic lowercase people, which is, a generality. But they were defining what the people were of. They were of the United States, which is Congress assembled, representing the states. And that's your political societies.
So it was a joint. It was, they were saying, of the United States. They were, because basically at that time they still regarded themselves, and the people still regarded themselves. And this was just the Constitution wasn't even ratified. They could, years later they might have thought that way, but at the time they still thought of themselves as a citizen of Virginia or a citizen of Pennsylvania or a citizen of Massachusetts. They didn't consider themselves a citizen of the United States.
Well, there was no such thing at the time, and
right.
and Massachusetts, Virginia, Rhode Island, Maryland, New York, and all the others, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, they all had constitutions as we the people of North Carolina, Georgia, blah blah blah.
Right,
and,
right. But what you were saying there was recollection. It was like later on in his life that he recollected that. Yeah.
Well, the people of the states elected representatives to go to the United States in Congress assembled. Therefore, those people became people of the United States because they were in that body politic, representing the states and the people of the states. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like both, citizens of both things. Citizens of the national government and citizens of the state government.
It has nothing to do with citizenship. It's just
right, like it's a dual citizenship story.
You were still a citizen of Virginia, but you were sitting in the United States Congress assembled body politic. So
right.
you are a people of that body politic, just like Governor Morris said, but between political societies.
Right. And Patrick Henry didn't like that because he was like, "Yeah, you're going a little too far there." He didn't like it going that far.
I mean, he said
the United States, by definition, was not a piece of land. So it was like, how could you really be a citizen of the United States? And since the United States is actually the assembly of Congress, now the people, the citizens of the United States, they're citizens of Congress. They're not citizens of a place.
Okay.
Right.
The United States is a corporate body politic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says, okay.
So how can you really be a citizen of them? I mean, that's what they're labeled now, because now they're under their jurisdiction. But the United States is not. There's never been a piece of land that actually, in a document that was named, this piece of land is the United States.
And that was Patrick Henry's argument. He wasn't happy with that.
I can believe that.
And that's why he fought. And that's why, I go by the anti-fighter. There's a lot I don't like about the Constitution. And you guys went over the 3/5 clause, but I didn't hear all your explanation behind it because I like to make those up. But I mean, there's a lot.
I can reread that part real quick if you want.
No, I understand the 3/5 clause, but what was your explanation for it? It was just the fact that, I mean, it was kind of a vague thing to put in there. It's just like today. Now they're arguing about should we have a citizenship block in there. And, when you're doing your census, but, or should we just count wild Indians and undocumented people as 3/5 of people? I mean, it's a pretty bad clause. It was pretty bad. But anyways, I mean, that was a bad part of the Constitution I didn't like a lot.
Yeah, but the purpose of it was to decide on representation and decide which state paid how much tax.
Right. I know the purpose of it. But the purpose of it also was still that bad purpose. I mean, it just, in fact, and then the clause that allowed them to keep importing slaves. So now that you can import people to strengthen your political position and make them slaves, that was pretty bad. I mean, it almost led to, it was an inevitable.
So you're saying, in your opinion, the slaves should have been counted zero?
Yeah, or counted as a whole person, either one, A or B, and I understand that that right there when they went into that thing, I mean, it was pretty bad. It's like.
Well, I can imagine.
Again,
I can imagine the debate that took place. It couldn't have been civil all the time.
Well,
and neither side really knew which one they wanted. Neither side really knew which one they wanted because there was good, the bad, and both. It's like count them as a whole,
and now
we get more.
It almost, yeah. Should we count as a whole? Should we count as zero? That's what they compromised. But see, that was the beginning of the compromise. And then I just finished reading the book Heir to Our Founders, and basically it was about Webster, Calhoun, and Clay. And basically because of that clause there, that was led up to Missouri Compromise, which was basically bad against the Constitution too, which Calhoun hated. And Calhoun was Calhoun was a genius, but he, if you read his stuff on the Constitution, I was looking at the Constitution Society. He had a discourse on government and a discourse on the United States Constitution. But he was a brilliant guy, but he just hated the Missouri Compromise. But anyways, it led to that, and then the compromise of 1850. And it's just kind of like it was incremental that we were headed down that slippery slope. And like Jefferson said, we got the wolves by the ear, but we dare let go. Even though Washington tried to show by letting his slaves go when he passed, and they were hoping that it would die a natural death, but then cotton came, and and plus manufacture power and votes by bringing people in for the first 20 years. It's just a lot of flaws to it and get-go. That's why I go against myself. I mean, it was just a shame what happened. And it caused the Civil War, which really led to the amendment you guys hate, the 14th Amendment. But, to the victor goes the spoils.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is from day one, the people through their state legislators never really utilized the amendment process. It was supposed to be trial and error thing. This worked, leave it go. This didn't work, get rid of it. We think this will work, try it. And they never utilized the amendment properly.
Yeah, that too. You know what I mean? And
they still don't.
They
still don't.
Oh, right. And most of the amendments they gave us were bad. You know, they can go on the 14th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th. That's all bad about them.
Everything since after the 12th. Everything after the 12th was pretty much to increase their power, except the 21st, which took away the 18th.
Well, if I could just jump in on that one. If you look at the first 12 amendments, they were all restrictive amendments.
Yes.
If you read all the first 12 was just one article. If you look at the 13th, there are 2 articles of the 13th, and nobody ever reads the second article.
Oh, you're going to go there again.
It's an expansion of power.
You're still dead set on that, aren't you? You're still dead set on that, aren't you?
But look at facts and evidence.
Well, but I do agree with you that second clause showed that it increased power because they had to repeat the 18th clause of Article 8. They had to repeat it because the 18th clause, I think it's the 18th clause, I could be wrong, 18th clause stated the foregoing powers. Well, now they had to repeat it. You're right. That showed that it was increasing their power, but that clause was added out of necessity because they didn't have power to carry out any of those amendments. They don't have power to carry them out if they don't add that clause because They
just could have made the clause saying that involuntary servitude or slavery involuntary service is prohibited and left it to the states.
Well, I won't deny you that. Well, Ed, we were almost ready to end the show. We gave one last chance to.
I appreciate you did, and I did enjoy listening. I just don't find this cold. I'm in pretty bad shape right now. So, but
you're not in Florida and you got a cold. I'm up here in
man.
Michigan. We're going to have -3, I think it is, on Saturday.
Oh,
you coming up?
Gosh.
You coming up?
No,
Come on.
No. That's why I left. I left that area.
It's time to get here.
I left that area.
It's 2 days away. Come on, you can get up here.
Yeah,
that's drivable in 2 days.
Enjoy that. Yeah, enjoy your weather, man. But I'll try to listen to it next week, man. Keep up the good work.
If you go to YouTube and type in "The Constitution Explained Under Children's Terms," you can find our channel. But I don't even have the Christmas show up yet on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But it'll be there eventually. I'll send Paul some links to send you. That'll be the easiest thing to do.
Sounds good. Keep up.
All right.
Keep up.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
Later.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
That's our show for tonight, folks. We covered Article 1, Section 1, and Section 2 pretty good. Next week, we're back on the air, and we'll be going over Section 3, the Senate. As the House of Representatives wasn't, you're going to find that the Senate is not what you think. So we'll see you all then. Thanks for joining in with us. I would like to thank everyone for listening in tonight. Whether you listened in live, whether you are listening to a recording in our Blog Talk Radio archives, or whether you are viewing us on our YouTube channel, we humbly appreciate your presence. For those of you who are not already viewing our YouTube channel, you can find us by searching YouTube for the Constitution Explained in Children's Terms. Not only should the results be our individual shows, there should also be an icon to click to take you to our channel, where you will find all of our shows listed as we manage to get them uploaded. For those of you who would like to join our Facebook group, I don't know the workings of Facebook, nor understand why a Facebook search for the U.S. Constitution Explained in Children's Terms does not bring up our group. You can find me and send me a private message asking me to add you to our group. Do a Facebook search for Harry, that's Harry, know him as, Noemas. Send me a friend request and a private message telling me that you would like to be added to our group, and I will accept and add you. That's our show for tonight. However, I would like to leave you with an important thought. We cannot repaint the past. We cannot even recolor today. Tomorrow is a whole different story waiting for us to mark it whatever shade we prefer. Good night, everyone.